Hey there, everyone. So it's been a bit since the last upload and review, so apologies. But one of the reasons was I got COVID, and among other things, it has been quite the crazy past few weeks. So getting things in motion and getting back on track here, today I have the Circula Aquasport II with this crazy and beautiful Aventurine dial. Now, if you're not familiar with Circula, they are actually not a new brand. The brand started all the ways back in 1955. Of course, when the quartz crisis hit, a lot of brands went dormant or outright defunct, and Circula was not immune. There are so many brands from that era that are no more, but fortunately, Cornelius Huber, grandson of Heinz Huber, resurrected the brand in 2019 and now is in full force making new watches, some of them inspired by Circula watches of the past, and others all new to the brand. All watches are made in Germany, and currently all will be either automatic or mechanical. Now, this model, the Aquasport, or in this case, the Aquasport II, is modeled after a vintage Circula watch and has that very familiar barrel-shaped case that was so popular in the late 60s and 70s. This one comes in at 41 millimeters, has a couple of different dial options to choose from, as well as colors, and is available with either a Tropic rubber strap or stainless steel bracelet. On screen, you will see all the specifications as well as pricing. I have to admit, this Aventurine dial was not my first choice. I quite like the gray dial with the orange chapter ring, but the more I looked at this watch, photographed it, and wore it, the more I really fell for this dial. Aventurine is a form of quartz, and the blue starry night sky dial is just really unique, and it definitely will not be for everybody. But as I said, there are other dials and colors of this model, and this Aventurine is limited to 99 pieces, as are the Meteorite dial versions that they have available. Now, I'll come back to the dial in a minute, but with this being an Aquasport II, that means there was a first version. I have never seen that model in person. To be honest, I'm not overly familiar with that model, but I do know this second model is larger, I believe sized up from 38 millimeters to now 40 millimeters, while retaining the same basic case shape. The case is brushed with attractive high polished chamfers, a large screw down crown with a blue accent, and a coin edge bezel with a sapphire insert that is nice and tight while still easy to rotate. There are a lot of different bezels out there these days, but sometimes a good old 120 click coin edge bezel still proves to be best, both in terms of looks and function. One thing missing from this case is drilled lugs, something many watches with this case shape usually have, and if you look at the back of this Tropic rubber strap, you will see it has quick release pins, something so many straps have these days, and I still prefer, with very few exceptions, standard pins or screws with a watch like this, and drilled lugs, but that's just me. Now, while we're looking at the back, hey, finally, a micro brand that did a solid stamped case back instead of showing off the movement. I make jokes, but a lot of brands are showing off the movement these days, and you know how I feel about it. But in the case of this one, it's nothing extraordinary, but it is a cool image of a diver underwater, and even though this does have an SW201- movement, I just much prefer this case back instead of looking at a base undecorated movement. Again, that's just me. Back to the dial, and as I said, this has really grown on me, and one thing I love here is the white surrounds of the indices. It really pops against this blue Aventurine dial, and of course, this is a no-date dial, which I do really like more and more these days. But what I do not like is that it is not a no-date movement, meaning you will have that phantom date wheel, and I really wish brands would stop doing this. Either source a no-date movement or have the movement modified if you're going to go no-date. That's all I ask. Above the dial, there is a domed sapphire crystal, which gives just a little bit of distortion when viewing from certain angles. How does this 40 millimeter watch with a 46 millimeter lug-to-lug wear on my 7.5-inch wrist, you ask? Pretty damn well. The barrel-shaped case wears larger than a standard round 40 millimeter diver, and this case shape has always proven to be very comfortable. I do find this strap, though, to be on the short side. It's 120 by 75 millimeters, and as you can see, I could barely get the tongue into the two keepers. The Tropic is pretty nice though. It's fairly pliable and comfortable, and it's not a cheap rubber strap as some use. As I said in the beginning, there is what looks like to be a fairly nice beads of rice vintage style bracelet available, but it did not get sent to me. It was an accident, as the owner's father apparently was helping him and forgot to pack it. It just didn't make sense for him to send me a bracelet from Germany to the US Express, so it would have taken a while, and I needed to get this review out there. So again, it looks nice, but I can't really speak to the quality. It is a shame though, as I would have loved to have shown and discussed it here in this review. The bracelet is an extra expense though, so if you're okay with the blue Tropic rubber, you will save yourself some money. But if you order the bracelet though, you do get the Tropic rubber strap as well. With C3, X1 Super Luminova on the hands and indices, and BGW9 on the bezel, this is quite a watch in the dark, and it glows nice and bright, as well as lasting quite a long time. X1 Luminova is some of the best and brightest lume, and it is easy to see why. This is what lume junkies dream about, or I suspect they do. And if lume is important to you, the Aquasport II is good to go. Now, with the exception of a few nitpicks, I would have to say I really enjoy this piece, and though initially I would have liked a different dial, I have really grown to appreciate this Aventurine quartz dial, if for nothing else that it stands out from your run-of-the-mill Sunray or texture dials, and even meteorite, which I find to be mostly played out these days. The barrel case shape I have always enjoyed, and the case and dial finishing is top notch here. I just wish for a longer strap and maybe drilled lugs. And again, sorry I cannot show and talk about the bracelet, as I think this would look great in all metal. If you want to see more though, I will have a full written article on watchreport.com. Check the description for the link, as well as a link to the Circula website. Of course, I want to hear from you, so let me know what you think of this Circula Aquasport II and this Aventurine dial down in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, a like is always welcomed, as is sharing it with others. If you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This is Don Evans from Watch Report. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.